say you want to try to live off the solar for 4 or 5 days. You have a couple of panels up on the roof, you have batteries in the battery bank. What from there should people look for or investigate that they might need to run their things?
So I would say 5 days off grid, running your items. The number one thing I would put priority on is information. If you have a system and you have no idea of what it's doing, what do you do? I mean, talk about being in the dark. Yeah, you can turn lights on, but you need to have something that communicates with you, and it communicates intelligently. I mean, it's not that hard. You're utilizing so much power and you're producing so much power. Can you instantly look at a monitor panel and in one location see this is the power I've put in today. Today I was able to harvest 3.5 kilowatt hours. And then this is what I'm consuming. And I can know that this is my daily consumption. I know I consume 2.5 kilowatt hours. And so as long as I'm producing more than I'm utilizing, I have no worries. Tomorrow it's going to be a little bit overcast. I still have enough reserve capacity. My batteries are at this state of charge. I'm at 79% state of charge, and I know that I have this many kilowatt hours of capacity. Basic math is all you need. But the biggest thing is that you know what everything's doing. Because if you're just getting told a voltage, if you're just getting told right now, at this instant, your solar panel is putting out 3.78 amps. What in the world does that mean? That does not mean anything. We need a tangible number that we can look at and we can make decisions off of. Because if you're out there for 5 days and you're completely autonomous and you don't want to start your generator, you're gonna have to take some ownership of what you choose to do and what you choose not to do, or at least to look at it and to understand what expectations you can have. Did that answer your question?
It did. But still, what are some basic components that would be necessary to be off of shore power for 2 or 3 or 4 days?
So understanding DC and AC is first and foremost of importance. If they have no use for anything AC, then they don't have to have an inverter. Someone who has a gas cooktop and they are going to use a percolator to percolate coffee in the morning, and they're not using a microwave, it's just storage up there, those people don't ever need an inverter. That is not needed to camp. You have to have a battery. You have to store power. So we need to generate power somehow, whether it's from a generator, whether it's from an inverter, or not from an inverter, from a PV array, whether it's from both. Somehow you have to accept power and then you have to store power. And so once we start storing power, that starts changing things. If we're storing them into lead acid batteries, then it can go right into that battery. You have to remember that a lead acid battery, if it's a 100 amp hour battery, you only utilize half of that. So that is 50 amp hours. That's why people like lithium so much, is because you can get 80, you can utilize up to 95% of it. And so the moment you go into lithium, now all of a sudden that opens up a ton, well, not a ton, but it opens up other issues. Lithiums are very specific on how they want to be charged. So is the charger that's in the vehicle or that's in the trailer good enough? Or should it be something better? Are you putting a larger bank in that needs to be charged faster, and that charger is okay for lithiums, but it doesn't produce the amount of current that really should be charging those batteries? You're plugging it into a truck to tow down the road. That alternator is designed for a lead acid battery. Is it doing damage to your brand new expensive batteries because it's trying to overcharge them, or it's trying to treat them like a lead acid battery? So now we have to add something in there to change that. So there's a lot of different components. If voltage is going in, if power is going in, you need to really review that and see if that is the correct voltage, if it's the correct current, if it's the correct algorithm for those batteries. And if it's not, you need to put something in. DC to DC charger. You've got solar panels have a charge controller. Your converter is what we call them in the RV world, but it's really a battery charger. If you're doing an inverter, it's going to be an inverter converter, an inverter charger. What is it doing? So all of those things. We also sometimes need to consider our load output on the batteries too. And on some systems, you might want to put some kind of battery protect on where you're now breaking, instead of all of your DC loads going out to everything, maybe you want the mindset of, I've got things that I would like to run, and then I've got things that are critical to run. And so now you start separating those. We see a lot of DC air conditioners where they're not needing generators anymore. They'll run right off the batteries. And when you run into something like that, you put a battery protect on that, and when the voltage gets low or when the batteries start getting unhappy, if that battery has some way of telling the outside world, hey, I don't want to discharge anymore, you can get that information first. You can start shutting off those heavy loads and AC where it will still run those critical items. Your refrigerator still stays running. You still have lights inside the unit. So how mild, how wild do you want to go? It can be done. The technology is there.